Yes, this room looks a little bit different. Things have been moved around a little bit. So we just have to deal with it, okay? So good evening and Happy New Year to all of you. I absolutely cannot wait for this year to bring things back to normal so we can get on with happily living our lives.
Yesterday, the UK announced another 53,135 COVID cases, a record daily figure.
Millions more people in England are expected to be moved into the highest tier and level of coronavirus restrictions.
What's always been Donald Trump's megaphone, now silent. He responded using the official presidential account, accusing Twitter of banning free speech and trying to silence him. Those tweets were removed.
So I would ask you guys how you're all doing, but I think I already have a pretty good idea. I, for one, am still on furlough, still waiting to be able to attend my own graduation ceremony, and my hometown has been put back into lockdown. And it started 2 days before my birthday, which meant that not only was my birthday party cancelled, but it also meant that I didn't get to see family members that I hadn't seen in like 6 months. And I'm one of the lucky ones. Thankfully, a couple of people from the Discord made me a lovely piece of artwork for my birthday, and I want to take this opportunity to say a massive thank you to those guys. It really did help me feel better after I was a bit down in the dumps there for a little while, so thank you so much. It was so sweet and I love it. But all that aside, let's get to what I want to show you guys today. So I know planning anything at the moment is going to be a massive risk because who knows what Lady C will plan next. But I really am hoping to make a lot of progress with Harry House this year, and I've been working on a couple of things in my spare time since I last saw you, some of which I can't show you yet, but some of which I can. And one of those things is I've been working on a stalking system for the enemy AI. So I really want to show you guys that today, and I know I keep saying this, but it might not look like what the final version of it will be in the game, because obviously things change and, you know, iterative development, all that stuff. But I think it's a really good basis for what we've got going at the minute, and it's something that we can build on and edit if we need to. And I really want to show it to you guys, and so let's get into it. All right, so the first thing I want to show you guys is the behind the scenes of how this works. So here's my enemy. I've color-coded him red so that you can see that he is indeed an enemy. This guy here is me. You won't actually see him in game because the game is first person. Obviously, again, end result game is not going to be first person, but this is just for debugging purposes. These little spheres around the map are waypoints. So what happens is that the enemy is programmed to pick a random waypoint and then just walk to it. And then once he gets there, they pick another random waypoint and walk to that. And keep doing that and that and that. And that simulates an enemy just wandering around the mansion. And he will continue to do this until I enter his line of sight. When that happens, he targets me and walks to my position. If at any point I leave his line of sight, a timer will start, and if I do not re-enter his line of sight by the time that timer is over, then in effect he's lost me, and he will go back to wandering the area because he can't find me anymore. Something else I implemented was that some waypoints have sound emitted from them. So there's a radius of sound around the waypoint, depending on how loud the sound is. Obviously, the quieter it is, the smaller the waypoint. If the enemy is within that radius, then it automatically targets that waypoint because it hears that a sound has been emitted from that waypoint, and so it will go to investigate. And this is all basically just logic boiled down to its most simple form. And the more intricate it is, the more complicated it is. That's how you increase the artificial intelligence of the enemy. So it sounds really simple, right? So let's see it in action. So if I press play here, okay, so here's me, and I'm gonna go outside of the map and hide so that I can't go into the enemy's line of sight. If I find the enemy now, let's see, where are you? Here he is. And I pause it. There will be an invisible raycast, so you can see it here, but it's not actually visible in the game. And one of these will at all times be pointing at me. And that's this red line here. It's always pointed at where I am. Then you have these green raycasts. These represent the line of sight for the enemy. I can make this wider if I want, depending on how I want his field of vision to be. If at any point the red line intercepts the two outer green lines, that means that I am within the field of view. And if there's nothing in between me and the enemy and I'm within his line of view, then basically it means he has a clear sight of me, and so he's spotted me. So let's play that out. So here the enemy is wandering around, and here I go. I'm now within his line of sight. If I can try and get him back on the screen. There you are. And so he will continue to chase me. Now, as you can see, I'm able to get out of his line of sight. If I'm outside of his line of sight for a certain amount of time, that means he doesn't know where I am and he's basically lost me, and so he will give up the chase. So I'm trying to make that kind of trigger here, but this guy's being kind of relentless. Let's run away and hide. Okay, so I've hidden out here, and let me zoom this out so you have a better. Yep, you can see he's given up the chase and he's wandered away. So let's see that like this so you can actually see better what's going on. So I'll get within his line of sight again. There he is, he's spotted me, he's targeting me, and as you can see, he's following me around. Now if I run over here outside of his line of sight, he can't see me anymore because obviously all of these walls are blocking, and so he's given up. Obviously it's not going to be that quick to get rid of him in the game, but this is obviously for testing purposes. And you can see that he will just continue to wander throughout these waypoints. So that's how the enemy's visual intelligence works. So let's go to the audio intelligence, how it reacts to sound. So let's take one of these noise sources. There's 3 of them and they're color-coded purple. Now these are actually waypoints and they act the same as waypoints except that they emit sound. And again, like I mentioned earlier, each of these has a radius around it that gets bigger depending on how loud the sound is. For example, this sound is pretty quiet compared to everything else, and so the radius is going to be small. Now what that's going to do is, if I play the game, and I move myself out of the way just for a second, and go down to this, I've coded the button Q to act as a sound trigger. And what that does is it will create a radius around it, and you can see this radius here, it just happens to be the same size as the radius of the sound, just to make things easier for me visually. Now what this does is it will get all of the waypoints within this radius and add it to the enemy's waypoint list where it's going to go, and that's where the enemy will focus his search, because he thinks, right, there's a sound in this area, so I need to check this area in particular. There's another timer which, when it runs out, the enemy again is like, damn, I lost them. Oh well, I'll continue to search the rest of the mansion. So he'll concentrate his search on like a few different rooms at first, and then after a while, when he realizes that, okay, you must be long gone because I can't find you, then he'll go back to his usual route. So that's how it's working for now, and I hope that the way I've explained it kind of makes sense. It works fine for now. It's a good basis, as I said. So that's it for now. I hope that this year will be heaps more prosperous than the last year, and that you all stay well, and that things finally get back to normal soon, because if I have to spend another minute in this goddamn house. Thank you for joining me for the first video of the year, and I hope that you will join me in the next one. So I'll see you then. Bye.